This is the Big Kid Show. I'm Mark, and thanks for landing with us here on the Notorious B.I.G. Show. We appreciate it. We love having everybody aboard. With me, I've got two of my favorites, two of your favorites, Big Nick and Mr. B. Thank you. We welcome and appreciate your applause. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, give us a rating, drop us a review. All those things help us on our journey to the top of the podcast world. Today, boys, I'm excited. Today is a special day. Today actually means nothing, but today is special because we're going to be talking about something special. And that something special is the 2023-24 NFL Super Bowl.
Boom.
Yeah. That's right. We're going to cover the Super Bowl in detail today, boys. I don't think I need to do a huge preamble for us just to dive right in. We've done our midseason. We've done our postseason before the wild card weekend. None of us were right with our Super Bowl predictions, so let's forget those even happened, and let's move forward. So anybody who is living underneath a rock, we've got Taylor Swift versus the Kansas City Chiefs against the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, the Swifties are coming for you, Mr. B. You better duck and hide.
Bring it.
We got the 49ers versus the Chiefs. So I'll kick things off here for us, gentlemen. I will admit I'm a little less than excited about this matchup personally.
Aww.
But that's in the sense of the Chiefs are one of the prime rivals of our Cincinnati Bengals now.
Yes.
And the 49ers are a pastime rival of our Cincinnati Bengals. With that out of the way, I think these are actually two fantastic teams that are probably going to put up a fantastic showing on the Super Bowl. So let's pull you boys right in. Mr. B, let's start with your initial impressions when you saw what the matchup was going to be. What were your thoughts?
I was like, come on, man.
Come on, man.
I don't know. I like the 49ers team. I really like the story with Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah. And, he's in the Super Bowl. So, I really like that story. I really am a big fan of Christian McCaffrey and the way he plays football. I don't necessarily like how the Chiefs got themselves to the Super Bowl. I felt like it was a lot of complaining and just I like Patrick Mahomes less now. So I don't know. And again, being a Bengals fan, I like the Chiefs not at all because. But yeah. So no, I hope it's a high scoring affair. At least that makes it fun and exciting for fans. But
which it could be with these two teams.
So
definitely possible.
So yeah, that's am I ecstatic for the matchup? No.
Big Nick, what's your excitement meter kicking in?
I was looking forward to talking to you gents all day today, and now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw away my headphones.
I love talking football still. Just being honest with you guys.
It doesn't sound like we're talking football, and it doesn't sound like we're loving talking football. Here's the deal, boys. I'll tell you this. All right. Look, Kansas City Chiefs, they are the new dynasty. Okay, they've taken over for the Patriots. The Patriots were the king supreme, the taco supreme, and you'll see why I said that here in a minute. Burrito supreme, if you will, for many, many years. And now it's the Chiefs' turn. And so here, look, what was I a little tired? Of the Chiefs, seeing them have all the success? Yes, I was. And you know what? Going into the playoffs, I thought, maybe they'll lose. This is just not their year. But then I sat down with Patrick Mahomes, and he explained it again to me one more time. But this time he used those nuggies to explain it to me.
Nuggies.
And he explained it to me that they are the champions, and they will have another opportunity to defend their championship, to defend them being reigning supreme over the NFL. On paper, did the Ravens look like one of the best teams in the NFL? Probably the first or second best team? Yes. Did the 49ers, do they look like the first or second best team in the NFL? Yes. But you know what happens? When you get to the dance, you get to the big dance, and things get squirrely, Things get nasty. It's the teams that have been there and done it before that don't panic, that they don't wilt. They don't go away. They don't just retreat to the corner and quiver. No, they fight back. They fight and they claw their way to the final game. And that's where we find ourselves here. Niners v. Chiefs. And I'll tell you what, Swifties out there, come and give your boy a hug. I'm all for this Taylor Swift business. I'm all for, I hope that, we got an election coming up in November. I'm thinking that we need to just get Taylor Swift to run for president, and Kelsey can be the running mate. He would make a strong VP, and they'll get my vote, because guess what? I've seen the other goons that are on that card so far. Not impressed.
At least it'd be Ohio guy, at least in vice presidency.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Here's one thing that I love too. A little shout out to our friends over at DraftKings. They do one of those contests where you can just pick 4 players. And had you asked Big Nick at the beginning of the season who are the most dynamic, the big superstars on offense on both of these teams, well, I got me a team that's exactly that, right? I got me a little Patrick Mahomes, a little Travis Kelce, CMC, Christian McCaffrey, with some Deebo Samuel. I love when Deebo gets the ball. And here's the deal. When you, as a mama, all right, when you birth a child and the doctor hands that baby to you, and you put that baby in your hands, in your arms for the very first time, and you look down at that sweet little baby face and you go, his name shall be Deebo. You're saying one of two things. This boy will either be an NFL football star or he's going to be in prison. One or the other. That's the only 2 options for that little baby now that you've held him in your arms. And I'll tell you what, Deebo Sam, I love watching that guy play football. He's one of the toughest wide receivers I've ever seen. So I'm excited. I'm actually excited for this matchup. And I get what you guys are saying. It's like, you know what? That's the really delicious cheeseburger that I've had before. And now you're going to serve it up to me again. But you know what? Big Nick, he's hungry for that cheeseburger one more time. I liked it the first time, and give it to me again. I like both these teams. I really like both of the coaches, and that's what I'm excited to see. Give these guys 2 weeks to scheme, to plot, to try to break the other team. And let's see what they come up with, because I think that these 2 coaches are probably the 2 best in the business right now. Andy Reid, God bless him. He's having his career was always great in Philadelphia, but now in Kansas City, he solidified himself as one of the top coaches of all time in the history of the NFL. You know what? I know that Mark's got a few more questions here for us, so I won't steal the show. But before we get to Mark's questions and some further great discussion, now that you guys are in a much better mood, now that Big Nick got you straightened out, I do need to give a shout out here. You know the deal out in listener land. For all of you listening in the car, listening in the gym, if you take the time to get on your old phone and type up a nice little review for the Big Kid Show, preferably it's of the 5-star variety, you get a shout out on the show. So let's give a big shout out to a 5-star review that dropped on Apple Podcast, coming from Batman of Columbus. And this was from January 21st of this year. And the title of the 5-star review is Warnings. And it says, the Big Kid Show will make you hungry for tacos. So you heard it here first.
Whoa.
Yes.
On the Big Kid Show. And now taco sales just went up.
Yep.
There it is.
Plus, it's good to know that Batman listens to our show. So that's good to know.
Well, and to your point, Big Nick.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a great matchup. And I think, the Chiefs are kind of what they are. The 49ers, and Mr. B kind of alluded to it, they're a little bit of a back and forth with me. I like Brock Purdy. I really like Christian McCaffrey. I like Deebo Samuel. I like Nick Bosa. I like a lot of the guys that they have on their team. I like the way that they play. They've got hard-nosed defense. They run the ball. Brock Purdy is not Joe Montana, right? I mean, he's not a bad quarterback, but he's not Joe Montana. He's not the guy that's going to, completely thrash the other team. but he's good enough to hold things together and make plays when he has to. I mean, when I go and I look at the two teams, so we've got, obviously the standings from the year. The 49ers went 12-5, Chiefs won 11-6. So it was kind of even. And the Chiefs during the regular season, if you guys remember, the big question was about receivers. Like, do they have anybody that can catch the ball? A lot of guys dropping, a lot of guys that couldn't hang on to the ball. And if you look at the season statistics for the Chiefs, none of their receivers went over 1,000 yards. And the highest yard total for any of their receivers was Travis Kelce at 984.
Yep.
Which was the same as last year when they won the title as well.
Yeah. Now, second is Rashee Rice, who I believe is their rookie, right? I think they just drafted him.
I believe
He's
so.
a
this year.
Receiver, yeah.
But he's got 938. After that, it drops down to half, 460, 315, 305. I mean, it's a big drop off, but it also goes to show you that Patrick Mahomes is pretty good spreading the ball around. They had Isaiah Pacheco. He didn't even crack 1,000 yards rushing. So I think
Pacheco's awesome though.
But
he is. He runs like a madman.
He also didn't really. He didn't play as much at the beginning of the season, though, right?
Yeah, he only had 14 games played, so there was definitely a few that he missed. But I guess my point is, they weren't the juggernaut that they were last year on offense. The thing about the Chiefs this year is actually their defense. Their defense is actually much better than it was last year, which is not something they get a lot of credit for. But I think that's going to be the interesting aspect to this matchup. That if they can smother Brock Purdy and make life difficult on him and Christian McCaffrey, what does that mean? Right?
Nailed it.
I'm going to predict at least one defensive touchdown from one of the two teams this game. I mean, I think we're going to see at least one defensive touchdown. I think both defenses are good enough, and both teams are prone enough. Mahomes more in the sense I'm worried about him throwing it to a guy and it hitting off his hands and getting intercepted. Not so much a bad throw. But Purdy had less interceptions than Mahomes. I mean, he only had 11 for the season. Mahomes had 14.
Well, and if you remember, Mark, when we did our kind of mid-season discussion, at the time, Brock Purdy was leading the league in passer rating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you said he's no Joe Montana or whatever, but I mean, I think he gets a bad rap because they're like, oh, he's a system guy or because he's stacked on a team. But I mean, either way, he's still getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, he had more passing yards and a higher quarterback rating than Patrick Mahomes during the season. Yep. And that's, I mean, look, you can't really argue with that. 70% completion percentage almost. He threw for 4,280 yards.
Which years ago, 20 years ago, remember, it was a big deal if a quarterback passed for 3,000 yards. Yep. Now it's got to be over 4,500 to be awesome. It's just crazy to think of those numbers.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and you look at Christian McCaffrey in the year that he had, and it was very freak-esque. I mean, the guy had almost 1,500 yards rushing, and then he added another 564 catching the ball. So he had over 2,000 total yards, which is just crazy. I mean, that's just a crazy stat.
Well, and I'm looking at some of these numbers here, like on paper, again, with percentages and rankings. I mean, the 49ers are beating the Chiefs. I mean, just in terms of numbers, in terms of what they put up. I also love very much that the 49ers are a much more balanced football team on offense. I mean, they're pretty much down the middle of run pass versus the Chiefs obviously pass closer to 60% of the time. So I think that's going to be interesting, especially if one of these teams gets up. I mean, I think it's hard to beat the 49ers if they're beating you 14-0. Because it's like, now we don't have to pass and we can run the ball. We can use the clock versus the opposite. If the Chiefs get up 14, that's tough too. Cause now you're forced to pass. And so I think
now Brock Purdy has to be the guy.
So a lot of game kind of scenarios I really think can affect the way this thing's going to shake out.
Well, so let's look at the points against, because I think we talked about the defense. So I think this is kind of a key point. So the 49ers gave up 298 points this year, right? The Chiefs gave up 294. So as well known as the 49ers are for defense, they actually gave up 4 less points overall for the season. Here's the kicker, though. Points for, the 49ers had 491. The Chiefs had 371. So 120 less points on the season. That's a pretty big difference. And I think some of that goes to, the 49ers' ability to kind of choke people out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They get a lead and they're able to kind of choke people out. Whereas, the Chiefs are probably still relying a little bit on Mahomes. Pacheco, yes, good, but not McCaffrey by any stretch. So I think it's gonna be interesting. Let's hop into some predictions here, guys, because I think that's kind of the next sensible thing to do. So, Nick, who do you predict to win? And throw me a predicted score of what you think we're going to see at the end of the Super Bowl.
Well, you're asking a guy to predict the winner, and the guy you're asking is somebody who went 1-5 in the first round of predicting the playoffs. In fact, I had the privilege just a week ago of hanging out with our boy Barbecue Fixer.
All right.
Yeah. So shout out to our friends at the Paradise After Dark podcast. A good friend of ours, Barbecue Fixer, who's a longtime friend of mine. We were having dinner together, having a couple drinks, watching a little bit of a football game. And this was the start of the second round of the playoffs. And he told me, he said, Nick, you know what? I really thought about giving you a call. I said, really? Why? What's up? He goes, well, you did such a good job predicting the first round of the playoffs. I thought I'd give you a call, figure out who you were predicting for the second round so I could bet on the opposite. Look, and so before I get to my prediction, I do want to touch on a few things that you pointed out here, Mark. So first off, the Niners giving up more yards, but putting up significant more points. Part of that stat is because they put up so many points, right? They now can go into a prevent defense. They can get a little lax, and then the other offense is going to put up a bunch of yards that don't mean anything.
Garbage
as far
yards.
as the outcome of the game. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that stat in itself, and just like all stats as far as the NFL goes, and any sport for that matter is, anytime you have persons playing against one another, the stats are always going to be a little bit skewed like that. And now, do the Niners have a better roster? Without a doubt. Do they have more superstars? Without a doubt. They're not the champions. Okay. I've seen this movie before, and let me show you what that movie was. It was called the 1990s. And that's when there was this team called the Dallas Cowboys, who was a dynasty in the 90s.
Goddamn Cowboys.
And then there was this other team that was a lot of fun to watch. They had a lot of superstars. They won a lot of games. They always went really far and had very successful seasons. And that team was called the Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
The difference between the two is the Bills didn't win any titles. Cowboys, they won 3 of them. So here's the deal, boys and girls. Sign me up for that Swiftie action. I love me a little Kelsey Swiftie action. I think Kansas City, they're going to go and get their 3rd championship, because here's the deal. You can talk about stats. We can talk about names on a roster all you want. But at the end of the day, what has happened? What have we seen tried and true? Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, that combination has landed the Kansas City Chiefs in 6 straight AFC championship games.
that's pretty good.
They're now in the Super Bowl for the 4th time in 6 years. They've won 2 of them. I'm sorry. I love 49ers. I love their fan base, and I love a lot of their players, especially Deebo. I love me some Kyle Shanahan as well. I think he's a brilliant coach. Kansas City, 33. San Francisco 31 in a very exciting Super Bowl.
You have it here first.
Barn burner.
And Mark, where I think you're exactly right is Chris Jones was so disruptive to Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson is not because he's like this brilliant pocket passer, but he's one of the most, if not the most difficult quarterback to to shake, right? To get him shook and get him off his game, because he has a weapon in his arsenal that many don't. I've never seen anybody be able to run the ball with such smooth and silk and grace as that.
He's like a gazelle.
He's a gazelle, but he's like tough and he's smart the way he runs the ball. Like I've never even seen running backs possess that same ability. So, but Chris Jones was so disruptive, and just as the game kept going on and on, he just kept finding a way in the backfield, batting down balls, getting in the face. And part of that is, we didn't know this at the beginning of the season, but we know it at the end of the season. The Kansas City Chiefs DBs, very good. Those DBs that they got are very good. And they got enough of a cast on offense that I think that they can go punch for punch with the Niners. And I think the difference will be that they've been there, they've done it before, and they are the ones that are already sitting at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue. It's definitely hard to argue. Mr. B, let's hear what you got.
Oh, you want to argue?
Yes, I'm going to argue.
You want a piece of this?
Yeah. So also the flip side of that coin is every dynasty eventually has to come to an end.
Ooh.
And I think, if we look at, you're right. Andy Reid's been there and he's done it. So is he in the chess game of coaching? He's got the lead, but I'm hoping that the 49ers are at least smart enough to say, all right, where's their offensive weapons? All right, how about don't stick a super slow linebacker on Travis Kelce? Let's double this guy and let's make these other guys try to catch the ball, which we know they can't.
Yep.
And then you get some one-on-one defensive line coverage where it's like, oh, Bosa is in your face, Patrick Mahomes is in trouble. Hey, we got a whole different ball game. But I just think that the 49ers have too many weapons. Now, again, it gets into one of these things of the fluke plays a lot of times can make a game. You got a fumble here. You have a batted ball into an interception. But I think the 49ers are just I think they're a better team. And I think especially if the 49ers get up 7-0, 14-0, it could be trouble. So I'm going to go 49ers with the win, and we're going to call it 32-28.
32-28.
And side note, because unfortunately I saw the statistic. So we were talking about the Swifties and Taylor Swift. They showed the statistic of Travis Kelce's Instagram followers.
Oh, he probably.
And he had like a million and a million, and then like the moment like they said they were dating, he would jump to like almost close to 6 million followers. That could be your full-time job. He could quit football right now and just be an Instagram guy. So
the Swiftie effect is real.
It's actually a lower number than I expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but again, this is a football player. So, just to get, you basically got 5 million followers because she shows up and is rooting for you. So,
well, and him and his brother have their own podcast. Don't go listen to that podcast. Listen to this podcast.
Yeah, they ask us to be on their podcast, and we're like, no.
Keep declining. That's right. Might have to accept one of these times. All right, so we got Chiefs and 49ers. So I guess I got to split the middle here, boys. So this is tough. I think the Chiefs definitely would seem to be the favorite from the sense of been there, done that.
Mark, sorry to cut you off. What's the point spread currently? Do we know? Because I know
Niners
it's
by 2.5.
Okay, and I'm wondering if they're getting a little boost because it's closer to home. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times the home team usually gets 3 points.
Doesn't hurt. What is that? Like an hour 20 flight?
Yeah, so you kind of wonder if like
49ers are slight favorites by 2 points.
Okay. So it's pretty much even. So
the over-under's at 47.5.
Okay.
So this is obviously a little more than a week out ahead of the game, but
yeah, and who knows by the time we get to Sunday, that I know that point thing jumps all over, and Vegas gets involved, and
yeah, I think look, the Chiefs are really good at making commercials. They're really good at winning Super Bowls.
Wow.
They're talented in multiple ways. Mojado.
Mojado, yeah.
And all the different things.
Mojado's the best tight end in football.
Not if you bundle.
Not if you bundle. But I think I'm with Mr. B here. I think that Christian McCaffrey will be the game changer. I think him and Deebo present enough of a threat to make things a little bit difficult on the Chiefs. And I think that I don't have it as high scoring as you guys. I've got it up there, but not as high scoring. I think the defenses are going to definitely play a role. And as I mentioned, I think I can foresee a defensive touchdown. What team? Tough to predict, obviously. But considering I'm going to pick the 49ers to win, probably more likely that they get one. Yep. But I'm going to go 49ers over Chiefs 27-24. So not too far off from you guys, just a touch underneath it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I mean, again, both teams have an offense that can score. Both teams have a good defense. It's really going to come down to who makes the plays at the end of the day.
Well, hey, let's do something real fun. Quick fire Super Bowl MVP. Let's go around. I'll start. I think it's going to be Christian McCaffrey, Super Bowl MVP.
I also have Christian McCaffrey.
That's my dog.
Big Nick.
Well, as much as I want to say Mojado, I'm going to go Mahomes Super Bowl MVP.
Well, and that's what's always the thing is, I mean, if we go back over 20 years, it's primarily almost always a quarterback, occasionally a wide receiver, and probably very rarely a running back. But I think McCaffrey's going to have an amazing game. So I mean, if the Chiefs win, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes as the MVP.
Let's see. So we've got two receivers out of the last 1, 2, 3.
Julian
4.
Edelman won it one year.
So Cooper Kupp won it 2 years ago.
Yeah. And
Julian Edelman.
Yep.
He won it. Von Miller, one of the only linebackers, him and Malcolm Smith. But it's a little more balanced than like the season MVP, but it definitely still leans predominantly quarterback.
Of course.
I think what they look at is big games, but then like those real big plays, you know what I mean?
Well,
and sometimes that can be a defensive player.
Yeah, and like you said, if one of these defensive guys scores a touchdown, and
that's the deciding factor in the game.
Yeah, I mean, like
that's what I'm thinking too.
Bosa gets a sack, strip or something, and runs in for a touchdown. There's your MVP right there.
Yeah, I mean Cooper Kupp, even as a receiver, he only had 92 yards receiving, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
So, that's usually what it comes down to. And hell, Mahomes got it last year. He only threw for 182 yards.
Yeah. And that's when they're like, well, who do we give it to?
You have to give it to somebody.
Yeah, somebody has to get it. So I will say one thing. I got to say this real quick about Patrick Mahomes. It came out this week. I don't know if you guys saw the video and picture of them celebrating after the championship game. I feel better about my chances in the NFL that me and Patrick Mahomes have the same body type, guys. I don't know. I mean, the dad bod in full effect. And even Patrick Mahomes had to throw a little bit of shade at inside the NFL. Like, are you going to do me like that, guys? Like a horrible camera angle with a little pooch hanging out there.
Isn't it kind of interesting? Sometimes you see these guys who are supposed to be the 0.01% athletes, and you're like, oh, that's what you look like with your shirt off. Like
Big Nick's looking at me like the research team did not share that picture with him. So we'll have to have them fax that over. No.
I know when the camera's on me, it's best if I stand up straight, very straight. Look, he's winning these games with his arm talent, and we call it a game of inches. You want to know the inches that matter the most? It's the inches between the 2 ears.
Whoa, that's deep.
He's got it, man. He's got it. He's a winner for a reason. Do you boys think? You guys said something that scares me about my prediction.
There's the picture right there.
That's fine. He's fine. What are we talking?
Well, I'm just saying, like,
not bad, but
not bad. But like, I mean, you're talking about the most elite athletes in the United States, and you're just like, oh,
And a guy that's tough to tackle. Like, I mean, let's give him credit. I mean, he's an elusive guy. So kudos to him, man.
Mahomes took a page out of Big Nick's book, right? He's bulking up to avoid injury. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. Do you boys think, you guys said something that terrifies me a little bit with my prediction here. Do you think they put Fred Warner on Kelsey?
Well, see, I think that's one of the matchups that, again, we know the week leading up to the Super Bowl, they're going to be grinding this game to the ground. But, like, I mean, their explosive touchdown score is Kelsey. So if I'm the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, how do we shut this down? You know, and so you make sure, like, you should be preparing of who's our fastest linebacker, who's also one that can stick with. I mean, Kelsey, I think he weighs 240-ish, and he's 6'2", 6'3". So you find a body type that can fit him. Kelsey's lost a step, in my opinion. He's still clearly a great player, but I don't think he's like elite speed. So how do you remove him from the equation and then make those other guys make plays? And then you get into some of that stuff of, like, when do you double team them and when do you kind of have someone kind of chip them? And, you know, there's a lot of different things you can do, but I think that's going to be a big thing of keeping Kelsey out of the end zone versus him going off and having a 150-yard game with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can see Fred Warner on him because he's obviously very talented. But I think to Mr. B's point, you got to put a safety on him too.
Yeah,
you got to double him. I mean, if you take him out again, who are you left guarding? You got Rashee Rice, who obviously can be a threat, but like I said, outside of that, you got a bunch of guys who have struggled to catch the ball all year long. I mean, there was controversy about Kadarius Toney last week and him saying, "Hey, I'm not injured," and they put him on the injury report.
They put him on a healthy scratch kind of thing, even though he said he wasn't hurt, which has you like either. I mean,
he is injured.
Well, and that guy's, if I remember it, he's kind of been a locker room problem.
Yeah,
I mean, even going back to the Giants,
he's injured.
So you wonder if that's part of it. Like, dude, your attitude sucks. Like, so yeah, that's. There's going to be a lot of, like, interesting things within the game. I'm curious. The same with, like, are they going to double Bosa like the whole game? So if that's the case, who else is going to make a play on that defensive line?
What's funny, they asked Bosa in the press conference today, I think it was, or earlier this week, and they asked him about the 2 tackles. He's like, what do you think about the 2 Chiefs tackles? He's like, well, they hold a lot. It's like, ooh, let the trash talk begin.
Well, and he's true. Like, pretty much holding happens every play. It's just when they call it.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, boys.
Does anybody care to make a wager?
I'll make a wager with you, buddy.
We can make a little wager here. How do you want to do this?
Let's call it
straight up. I got the Kansas City Chiefs. If I win, each of you consume a bowl of Raisin Bran on camera.
I'll take that. If Mark and I win, Mark, what are we going to have Nick do?
I think he has to chug probably 2 Coca-Colas.
Oh, that's not bad. No, hang on. He has to drink. He has to drink 2 Coca-Colas while standing at a very high elevation.
Like on top of a
That's
building?
how bad Raisin Bran is.
You got to go out on a building ledge and drink a Coca-Cola.
No. I can't go on a building ledge. I won't be able to leave.
Just go on your roof of your house. No big deal.
I will drink 2 Coca-Colas, no ice. Oof. And if I win, you each consume a bowl of Raisin Bran cereal.
Can I get the Raisin Bran Crunch at least?
I will allow that because we go way back.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Right. Hey, that's a good friend's bet.
We'll let you refrigerate the Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Then.
Straight up, no point. We're going straight up, no points. Okay.
Yeah, straight up, no points.
Well, hey, we got a couple seconds left. What's your guys' thoughts on the halftime show?
I'm excited. And so,
I don't dislike Usher. I'm okay with Usher.
Guy. I think that the cool thing about Usher too, what it lends itself to, is that there should be cameo appearances from several different artists. I would expect. I do like me some Usher, so I'm looking forward to that. This is this is not one, and I'm trying to think of a great example, but I can't off the top of my head right now. But this is not one where I'm going, well, I'll skip that. I'll be bathroom break and then getting my second plate of food during halftime because I won't care to sit down and watch it. I will care to sit down and watch this one. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Is Usher the only act that they've announced? Or
yes, and so again, I would
expect
some, there to be some cameo appearances.
Yeah, because like last year, remember they announced like it was going to be a bunch of artists, but so they've only announced Usher. But yeah, I think there's going to be some surprise appearances. Yeah. So yeah, I like Usher, but I'm curious to see who these other people or artists come out and entertain us.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be interesting. I mean, I haven't been blown away by a Super Bowl performance in quite a while, but I was like, keep it classy. Yeah. Don't make it trashy. You know,
I just get frustrated that it's always pre-recorded, and as a musician, Mark, that should bother you.
It does. It does. I mean, so let's see. So Post Malone, Reba McEntire, and Andra Day are all pregame performers.
Yeah, because
Post Malone is singing "America the Beautiful."
Really? All right.
Reba McEntire is going to sing the national anthem.
All right.
And then Andra Day, who I'm not familiar with, will sing "Lift Every Voice and Sing." So
I love Post Malone, so I'm not laughing at that. I'm a big fan, but what I'm laughing at is the all the grandparents out there when they see the gentleman with the tattoos all over his face.
Yeah.
Singing, what's he singing?
On mushrooms.
So what's he singing, Mark? The national anthem or the
America the Beautiful?
America the Beautiful.
America the Beautiful.
Yes. When I would love to see all the grandmas and grandpas out there. When they see the face tattoo guy singing America the Beautiful.
Yeah, I think I'm sure my pops will probably be like, what's wrong with that guy's face?
So back to Usher real quick. So Lil Jon, we'll get a little John in the action. Maybe some Ludacris, some Luda.
They're all pushing 50 now, so I don't know you call them little anymore.
Well, I don't know why they call him little. We don't have to go there. He gave himself the name. I'm assuming he's okay with the name. I don't think it has anything to do with his age.
All right, boys. I got one last question before we get out of here.
Fire away.
It kind of fits with me and Nick's prediction. So, Mr. B, you'll have to use your imagination, or maybe your prediction answers the question for me. But will this game come down to a last-second kick? Will it be a last-second kick that wins the game? Or not? Big Nick, we'll start. Well, actually, you know what, Mr. B, we'll start with you.
I think for the NFL, they love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that means retaining viewership to the end. I mean, I'm sure, again, when you get into the money side of things, you don't want an NFL Super Bowl blowout. I mean, that's when people stop paying attention. And then therefore, if you're a guy that just paid $8 million for a commercial and you're like, nobody's even watching because the game's over, even though it's the fourth quarter. So I think that's what they want. I actually enjoy those kind of last second thrillers, but I think the 49ers are going to have it sealed in before there's a last second kick, in my opinion.
Okay. Fair enough. Big Nick.
Here's the deal, man. If you are really just worried about viewership, let's do the Super Bowl party on Saturday instead of on Sunday.
Big Nick and I are going to write a petition.
Yes.
6 p.m. on Saturdays would be perfect. Here's the thing that's crazy. It's like the number one watched event or even show every year after year. So look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I just wonder how much more the numbers would go up if they put it on Saturday. And listen, NFL, listen, Mr. Roger Goodell, listen to me, okay? I'm not a smart man, but I know what football is. And football has become America's pastime. And here's the deal. You can have all the tradition you want. Guess who took a big giant shit on tradition? College football. So you don't have to worry about your next biggest competition. They just pooped all over tradition in college football. Damn near ruined the sport. But America is begging you, NFL. We understand their tradition. Move it to Saturdays. And also, can we get rid of the Roman numerals already? You want me to say that it's Super Bowl 58? No. In protest, going forward, and I've been doing this for years, in protest, I will not refer to this as Super Bowl 58. I will refer to this as Super Bowl LVIII. You figure it out.
Levi.
Levi, there you
exactly.
go.
So will it come to, you know what? I think it's going to be tight. And I think that the two teams that we have here lend themselves to being a tight game, and also lend themselves as far as the coaches go, right? The coaches are both smart enough that they're going to figure out a way to keep this a close one. It's going to be uncomfortably close at times. I don't know that it will come down. It's difficult. I mean, this is a really difficult one.
We're taking a stab in the dark. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
I put it at 33-31 as the final. No, here's what I will go with this. I'm going to go, doesn't come down to a kick. Niners are driving with hoping to get close enough to attempt the kick, and they fall short of getting a field goal opportunity.
That's very specific. I like it, Big Nick.
Absolutely.
Very specific.
Absolutely. That Coke is going to taste fantastic. I'm going to go with not a kick either. I just don't see it. I think one of these teams will have it wrapped up. To your point, Nick, I think you have a team driving at the last minute to try to seal it.
Like a desperation drive.
Yeah, and they get stalled on the fourth and 5 or something. Yeah,
exactly. So, all right, boys. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, Big Nick said it. Move Super Bowl to Saturday. Every major company in the United States will thank you, NFL, because everyone and their brother calls off that Monday. We just solved the economy issues right there. Boom.
If you're listening to this, you made it this far. Tag Roger Goodell.
Send this podcast.
He listens to our podcast. He comments all the time.
Just got to remind him.
That's
Keep
called
listening, Roger.
Big Kid Economics.
Yeah,
that's right. We just straighten everything out.
BKE.
BKE. I like it. All right, boys and girls out there, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, we love all y'all. We are the Big Kid Show.